Hi everybody, thanks for meeting me again. My name is Flo and these are the KMS Quick Shots, and today I'm joined by the LA-based singer Mia Mormino. Hi Mia, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Let's start with a little introduction. When did you realize that you are a musician?
Oh, that's a good question. So music has always been very prominent in my life, starting from as far back as I can remember. And at 3 years old, I started dancing, and that took me all the way up until I was about 18. And I was a competitive dancer, so obviously with dancing, music is like the key element. And I was always in choir and musicals, in chorus, in elementary school and middle school. My family and I would blast like Eminem and Mary J. Blige and Will Smith like in the car rides going to and from wherever. So it's just music has always been in my life in some shape or form. It hasn't always been where I've been writing songs forever. I mean, I've been singing forever, but it's always been there. Just no matter what I've done, like that's always been a very key component in like my
Was,
childhood and as an adult.
was there any encouragement from your parents or did this all come from you?
Definitely encouragement from my parents. My parents are like super supportive in everything that I do, that my sister does. And their whole thing is that like if it makes you happy and it's not hurting yourself or others, obviously, then do it. We are very kind of untraditional in that aspect, especially where I've grown up. It's a very cookie cutter kind of town, and everyone goes to school, goes to college, graduates, gets a job, starts a family, and that's it. Which is totally fine. Obviously, nothing wrong with that, but that just wasn't the path for me. And when I realized that, my parents were like, do it. Like, don't even waste your time. Don't waste money. Like, if you know what you want to do, just go out and do it. So very supportive. I love my family. I love my family. My parents, oh, they're my favorite people.
So would you say your career starting from a very young age was skyrocketing, or was there a time when you felt low and wanted just to throw it all away and do a normal, regular thing instead?
My career, I would say, I mean, I've been singing my whole life in the talent shows and everything, and I would sing like Lady Gaga, and I was very out there with that, and it wasn't necessarily always like encouraged by the different teachers and the students and the parents, but I was like, yep, I'm 8 years old and I'm singing Poker Face by Lady Gaga. Like, that's who I am. And I loved it. And I just continued to love it. And then once I got like a little bit older, um, I realized that as much as I love dancing, there wasn't as much of a release for me when I was growing up and going through all that it is with relationships and your body changing and just like you changing. I think growing up can be really scary a lot of the times. So at that moment, I was like, okay, you know what, let me try to write a song about what I'm feeling instead of dancing to a song that kind of explains what I'm going through, but it doesn't exactly like hit the nail on the head. So I wrote my first song at 16. And then from that moment, I was like, whoa, like this is what I'm supposed to do. Like this makes me feel something that I've never felt before and just so free because there's no right or wrong with songwriting and music and anything creative really. But it was such an eye-opening experience because I was like, okay, like this will work. This makes me feel good. It'll make others feel good. And that is exactly what I care about.
Yeah. Was there an exact moment where you said, besides the emotional thing you went through, where you said, okay, I need to write a song. So what made you grab, I don't know, a guitar or grab the mic and do your own thing instead of covering other songs?
Yeah, there definitely, it was kind of, I'd say, like a buildup to a certain moment. The first song that I wrote was about like a pretty crappy relationship I was in when I was younger. And just all of those years of being mistreated and going through the motions of, toxic relationships. I would create little like poems or phrases like in my notebook, and we have a piano at my house and it's very broken. I mean, like so broken that it can't be fixed. Like the pedals are completely off the piano. Almost every note is out of tune. We've tried how to fix. Like it is very pretty to look at, but sound wise, it is like it'll make your ears bleed. But I didn't care, and I made it work. And I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm limited, but I'm not. So let me see like what I can do with these feelings that I'm having, and just teaching myself like the most simple of chords. And I took piano lessons when I was a little younger, and then tried picking it back up again later. But I still don't know much, but I know like the bare minimum. So I was like, okay, let's try this. And then when I started, I was like, okay, this feels good. And then I showed my parents and they were like, Mia. I was like, what? They're like, that's amazing. And I was like, really? Like, thank you. I don't think, I don't know. I didn't really like think much of it rather than just messing around. But then I was like, okay, let's try and do it again. And then I just kept going and I didn't stop.
Would you say it was a transition from an introvert to an extrovert, or were you always kind of an extrovert?
Definitely an introvert. Definitely an introvert. When I was younger, I was super shy to the point where like I wouldn't like want anyone else to hold me, like but my parents. I mean, when I was like a baby, and I always kind of grew up a little bit more shy. When I'm like meeting people, and like social settings aren't always the easiest for me. They never really have been. But when I'm on stage dancing or singing, I am a completely different person. Like night and day. You would never think, I mean, in my opinion, I don't know. This is just what I think. But looking at me on stage, I feel like no one would ever think that there's any difficulty around being outgoing or like trying new things or meeting people. Like it's very much a different like person, I'd say. I mean, it's still me, but I take on a whole different persona because when it's anything creative, I feel that there is absolutely no limitations and there's no right and wrong, and you can't like kind of put a cap on art. Like it is so just grand that I'm like, I can't mess up when I do this. I mean, you could, kind of fumble some lyrics or a move or something like that, but the feeling you can never mess up as long as you're being authentic and like genuine to yourself. So, but I mean, as time went on, I became more of an extrovert, but I'm still very like shy and timid at first. But then when I start to get to know people or anything, then I like kind of come out of my shell. But it's hard. I think being in social settings is really hard. For me at least.
So the reason I was asking this question was because hearing different songs like Big Boy Pants or Rapunzel or the last one, especially the last one called Mercy, one can't help but to sense a certain, I'd say, emotional sassiness maybe. So there's this vulnerable part, a really introvert part, but also a very distinct kick-ass part of you. So how much of this vibe comes from Mia Mormino, the human being? Is it a stage thing, or is it who you are as a person?
That's a very interesting way of saying it, because I, with a lot of time like growing up and being in lots of therapy, I've learned that I kind of live my life in like two different cars. One of them is like me, but then when I'm on stage and doing all these songs that are like super badass and then really like heart-wrenching and then empowering, that's like this car of me, and I kind of escape this one, which is me, to make this ideal world in my head, and I like to like kind of make believe with that. So at the moment I'm trying to integrate the two. It's very difficult, but it's doable.
Is it possible? Yes.
Yeah, totally possible. It just needs to be worked on. But in regards to your question, everything that I put out is me, whether it's like sad Mia, like confident Mia, like it is all me, but I like to kind of tap into different emotions and run with them and kind of go a little bit on like the more extreme side rather than being vague or more general. Like if I'm going to talk about, can I swear or no?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I was like, well, in that case, if I'm going to talk about like a shitty relationship, I'm gonna like get into it. I'm not gonna spare any details. I will be as authentic to myself in the situation as I can. So I mean, all of my music is me. It's just little pieces of me. Like each song makes up who I am, if that makes sense. Like
Yep.
there isn't one song that's completely off the deep end versus like another one that's like, oh, if I could pick one song to describe myself, like it would be this. Like they all describe me, or different parts of me, or personas, or all that good
Damn it.
stuff. So it's always Mia. It's always Mia. It's just what version you're gonna get, like you don't know.
This
I don't
rules
even
out
know.
another question of mine, because one of the questions would have been if you would have to name one song that describes you best, but we'll just leave this question out for now. So let's
I mean,
spend
there's definitely ones that
sorry?
yeah. There's like definitely ones that have more of an emotional attachment. For example, my song Mile High Romance is about, a flight attendant hooking up with a rich guy on the plane. I've never done that. I don't have any desire to do that. No disrespect if you do happen to do that, but like that's more of a like a character. So like I would definitely not be like, oh, that song describes my personality. Like that one, not so much, but songs like some of my older songs like Ribs and Little Girl and let's see, some of them that are coming out like are very much, I'm like, all right, that's about right.
So
it's about that's pretty accurate.
So the thing where it gets really interesting is your actual project, which is called the 7 Deadly Singles, where I would say you take one aspect, one main aspect of life, and you try to put it in a song into the theme of the 7 Deadly Singles. So after you already released 3 of them, or is this the 4th? Was Mercy the 4th one, or the 3rd?
The third one.
The 3rd one.
Third one.
3 of them are already out there. So and you already managed to put a whole different kind of song style out there. With Rapunzel, it was more the ballad side and the slow emotional side, I'd say. And when I just checked out Mercy, I was going like, oh, okay, I'm never going to mess with this girl. so
thank you.
let's start with the first 2 ones you already released. Do you follow a certain pattern when you release those songs?
Do you mean like as in the genre of the song,
Is
or
there,
like
is
the
there kind
actual
of
like
right? Is there a kind of build up? So do you start slowly and go straight up to kick-ass, or is it not related to the emotion, but to the theme?
Yeah, it is definitely more so the theme and like the sin. I mean, realistically, I could have made 7 singles that are all ballads that could like perfectly describe the sin that I'm talking about. I could have made a sin about anger, or a song about anger, or wrath or whatever, and made it a ballad like Rapunzel. But with each one, it's kind of just how I envision it in my head. Like when I'm feeling a little like flirty, I want to be like a bad bitch, like I don't want to be sad or feeling sorry for myself like Rapunzel, whereas Rapunzel is for envy, and when I'm envious, I'm not happy about it. Like it's really difficult to like be like that all the time. So I'm like, okay, when I feel those feelings of jealousy, I'm usually like sad and comparing myself, so we'll make a ballad for that. When I'm angry, which doesn't happen very often, but when I do get angry, I am furious. Like I could easily punch a hole in the wall if I didn't think I would like break my hand, kind of thing. So I'm like, okay, kick-ass song it is. Like we want heavy drums and guitars. And then for like some of the other ones, like for Greed, it's very like mysterious and kind of jazzy. And then the one for Pride, like because of the situation, it's a bit more powerful than sloth is very like creepy and gluttony is kind of sad. Like it really just depends on how I genuinely feel when I've experienced any of those sins or something close to it. Like I don't personally relate to like gluttony, but I can channel that feeling from other people that I'm close with and that I know. So it definitely just depends on how I feel when I am in those moments of lust or wrath or envy or any of them.
With your
So
latest
yeah.
single, Mercy, you had the boxing theme on the video. What made you
Yes.
come up with this exact setting? Because you
Yeah.
also, it seems that you chose a director for the video who understood your exact vision and put it into this dark, dense setting, and you can feel the build up from there. And it's not necessarily an easy thing to realize with pictures because the song is already there. So you have to build that one around the finished product, the finished song. And so how did this idea of the video come to life?
So for starters, any video that I have out under like my name, I make like the treatments for it. And the treatments are basically the story that go along with the song. I mean, I do a lot, like because I'm independent and I don't have management or anyone funding or backing or, doing anything like that. I am the one that finds the locations, that hires the directors and all the people, do the makeup, costume design, set building, obviously make the song, come up with the whole storyline in general, get all the props. Like, but I mean, I work with incredible directors and photographers and videographers and editors and all of that, that if they weren't there, nothing would come of my ideas. But I do a lot of it by myself because I kind of have to, which I love. And how I come up with the storylines for my music videos always depends. It's either like 3 a.m. where I'm in my bed with headphones on and just like a blank document opened, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna listen to this song like 8 times in a row, and just I type every single thing that comes to mind when I'm listening to the song. And then it's cool because you'll see, if you read back, like you'll see the progression where it's like it'll start off as one thing and then slowly get to what the video ends up being. But with this one, I was in my car and I was listening to it and I was like, okay, when it drops, like all I envision myself doing is punching something. I don't know if it's a person, if it's a bag, if it's a wall. Like I just need like physically a hard hit on that first drop. And then I was like, okay, like I don't really want to like punch someone because that's not me, like, not in a boxing setting. Like I don't want to just walk up to someone and like knock them. So I was like, okay, boxing is very much about hitting and punching, but it's in like an appropriate setting. I was like, okay, how can I make a video around boxing? Like, let me think of a storyline that could kind of go along with that and incorporate that. And then I went home, did the whole blank document thing, came up with all these ideas, and then I came up with the idea that it was going to be like a fight, and that I was going to be like training for it. And my opponent is actually my sister, so that was really fun. But
So
yeah, that one
was
was
she
just in
on
the
board
car.
right away, or did you have to convince her
Oh,
with
yeah.
anything?
No, she was on board right away, but she was like, who's going to win? And I was like, who do you think is going to win? This is my video. Who do you think is going to win? I was like, I'm going to win. She's like, all right, fine. She's like, as long as you let people know that if it was a real fight, I would win. And I was like, okay, true. And okay, I agreed to that. So it was so fun. It was so fun. We are like, my sister is my entire world, and like everything I do in my life is with her in mind, just because of how much I love her. I know she loves me the same. So anything we do, whether it's going to Target or shooting a whole music video or on vacation, we just have an absolute blast. So having her be so involved in something that's so important to me was like a dream come true. We were hysterical. We had to try so many times not to laugh because we don't fight or argue, let alone like physically fight. So we were like, all right, think of one thing that you just despise about me, and I'll do the same, and we'll just stare at each other and do it fast. Then we'll cut and then we'll laugh.
I'm sorry to
But it
tell
was
you,
so
but
fun.
when I looked at the video, when I watched the video, there was this scene where you guys staring at each other with this. I'd say you probably tried to be as hateful and concentrated as possible, and you went like this, and you can see in the reflection of each other's faces that is totally made up, because that's when I realized it's got to be at least your sister or any other relative, because no way this was an actor.
No, if it was an actor, honestly, I feel like we would have. I wouldn't have laughed. Maybe like a couple times, but then we'd be like, okay, let's do it. But we can't even look at each other for too long, or we will start cracking up. It doesn't matter who we're with, where we are. It's a blessing and a curse because it gets us into trouble sometimes. But it was so fun. We were trying so hard, but we did it, and I think it still looked somewhat believable, even though we all know like it was fake.
Like I said, the dense setting and the dark and really intense lighting, and of course the kick-ass music behind the whole thing, because I wasn't expecting this kind of intensity in this song, because the song before was Rapunzel, I guess, and the transition from a slow ballad to a kick-ass thing was really unexpected. So the thing totally worked.
Yes, so thank you. Good, good. I'm all about being in the. That's my thing.
so you said that usually your songs are originating from the heart. Are there even external things that trigger a song in you, like, I don't know, the construction workers in the back of your flat, maybe? no, anything that you wouldn't expect, or that has nothing to do with an emotion or yourself?
Yes, I would say, I mean, like the guys that I've dated absolutely influenced my music. Not all of it, and not so much even anymore, but when I first started out, I had a lot of feelings to get out about person number one, person number two, that kind of thing. So that is definitely an external influence. I mean, it's external, but it affects me internally, but that is like definitely the biggest one. But some of my I take like voice lessons every week, and we do writing exercises, and one of the exercises that we do is I will pick an object anywhere in my room. I mean, there's a curling iron, there's a pillow, a picture frame, and I'll write like a whole passage about it using descriptive like words and using my senses to then turn it into a song. And that's actually how Rapunzel came about. Yeah, it is, because it's like, okay, how do I make a story about a deodorant stick? But like, you can get so creative with it. Like, it could be, the deodorant could be like, I put on my deodorant before I go and do this, or when I see the deodorant, like I am immediately brought back to when I was a kid, and I just started like growing and my body was changing. Like, there's so many different avenues that you can take it, and because there's no right or wrong, you literally can't fail. But that's how Rapunzel started. She said, okay, pick a spice, and I was like, a spice? She's like, yeah, like nutmeg, pepper, thyme. I was like, I was like, okay, let's do cinnamon. So I wrote a whole thing with cinnamon in mind. And then I was like, okay, let's try and turn this into a song. And then that became Rapunzel, because I wrote a little story about a little container of cinnamon, and then it kind of sparked more ideas and turned into a song. So there are definitely moments where external external influences, I don't know, you know what I mean, external things will influence my writing. I mean, my laptop screensaver, I wrote a whole song about like the Catalina like default screensaver that Apple will just like put on your screen. I wrote a whole song from that perspective of like, if I was standing on top of that looking over the edge, like what would I feel and what would I do? So it's cool. You can literally find inspiration anywhere, and that's my favorite thing about it. So you never can run out of ideas.
I guess whatever it is that people throw at you, you can make it a song somehow. So
Yes.
with 3 Delhi singles out there and 4 more to go, what are the plans now with the rest of those singles? Do you plan to just release them one a month, or have you a certain pattern where you release them?
Yeah, I kind of mapped it out last year to have it be where it's like every 7 to 8 weeks I release a song, just because I used to do releasing one song every month. I mean, there were some months where I had 3 songs come out just because of like different features or remixes or whatever. But I found that when you do it that often, at least for me, it kind of, you don't have as much time as you could to like properly promote it and promote it to the best of your abilities. So with this year, I was like, okay, let's leave enough time where I can thoroughly promote it before the release, thoroughly promote it after the release. Then when I feel it's kind of run its course with, there's only so many times you can post about a song before people are like, okay, we get it. Like, you got a song out. So by that time, I'm like, all right, let's slowly transition to the next one. And then I build up the hype and like the interest for that one, and then I'll drop it, and then I do the video the week after. So kind of doing the same thing for each song as far as timing wise, but with each song, I learn more about music in general. Just the more that you do something, the more that you'll learn. So I'm sure the way that I promoted and the way that I released Mile High Romance versus the way that I'm going to promote and release the last single will definitely be different, because I'd have learned more throughout the whole year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. It's a process. It's just with every new single, you learn some aspects of it, and you do things a different way because you learn that things just work other than other things. Yeah, so you can try and error with every new single.
Yep, you just gotta trust the process and be open to learning new ideas and hearing new opinions, and you're set. That's like the key. It's just having patience and an open mind, and you'll be fine. I think. I don't know. We'll figure that out as time goes.
Sounds like a perfect plan. So besides the releases of the rest of the singles, with the COVID mess slowly fading, hopefully, do you plan on going live soon?
Yes, I'm so excited because I'm actually performing live for the first time again, July 1st, downtown LA. So if anyone's watching this in downtown LA or Los Angeles, please buy a ticket. It would help me out so much. But yeah, I am so excited, and I just had my first rehearsal for it, and I have not felt that feeling of singing into a mic and performing like that in, over a year, as everyone has. But it is just, I'm so excited. That's like all I can say about it, is that I can't freaking wait for it. And I'm going to perform Mile High Romance, Rapunzel, Mercy. I'm doing a cover, and then I'm performing 2 unreleased songs. So I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I can imagine, because this whole thing has taken way too long now. So everyone, the fans are waiting to see anyone out there on stage again, and the musicians are waiting to be on stage out there. So so I think it's about time that we all can go back to this normal, to the new normal, I'd say, very soon. So
yes.
Last question would be, after the 7 Deadly Singles, is there a plan for, I think it'll be 2022 down the road, or haven't you made up your plans yet after those?
I honestly, I don't really have too much of a plan just yet, which is kind of, I mean, I've got a little bit of ways to go until next year, but I'm very organized and I like to have things pre-planned. I mean, for example, the start of 2021, I had 6 out of the 7 songs, or no, I think I had all 7 of the songs done, like ready to go, completely done. So I could just focus on videos, promoting it, hopefully performing them. But for next year, because I'm not going to do like another theme, I think it's going to be a lot more. I kind of want to switch up my process. And when I write a song, record it, I want to put it out there and not just keep it in like the vault for like a year and a half and then do something with it. Like I want to
You wouldn't
really
do
just
something
put
with it
out
anyway.
as much.
Once
Exactly.
you have it there, it's got to go out, or you will leave it in the vault forever.
Yep, exactly. And I have songs like that where like I made it and I like kind of liked it when I was doing it, but then now I'm like I would never release that song. But 2 years ago, I probably would have. So yeah, not too much of an exact plan just yet, but I know that it's going to be, I'm going to incorporate a lot more performing, and I have songs that I made this year that will definitely be released next year just because they're like very close to home and special for me. So yeah, no plan, but I think it's kind of good that way. I'm always planning and always organized and kind of a control freak. So I feel like it'll be good for me to just kind of go a little bit more with the flow rather than driving myself crazy trying to think of like every detail 8 months before it.
I'm
You know
not
what I
so
mean?
yeah, I'm not so sure you can. I think before the last release of this year, you will be like planning ahead for the next 7 or 8 singles.
I say that now. I say that now, but I think we both know that like within the few months, I'll be like, okay, for 2022, I've got 90 songs I'm going to put out and a video for every single one. So we'll see. I'd like to hope that I'd be a little bit more easygoing, but knowing how I am, it's probably not going to end up that way. But I might surprise.
And at this time, I think we'll have to talk again about the future releases.
Yeah.
So Mia,
Definitely.
thank you very, very much for meeting me tonight.
Of
Has been a
course.
pleasure to meet you, and it was very nice to have some insight in your plans and your life as a musician. Guys, if you want to know more about the singer-songwriter Mia Mormino, please check out the links in the description of the video or the description of the podcast I'm also doing. Yeah, thanks for watching / listening, and we'll see / hear each one at the next episode of the KMS Quick Shots. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.